how's it going? It's time for the Blue White Breakdown podcast, Penn Life's Penn State football podcast. I'm Bob Flounders, joined as always by my favorite ham and egger, Dave Jones, who is coming to us from Downingtown. We talked earlier in the week about James Franklin and USC and also his press conference takeaways. Now we're going to get to the meat of it, Dave. We're going to get to our game picks and how we kind of see the Auburn Penn State game. How are you doing?
Why does it always look like I just got out of bed? Because I have.
I was going to say I had an easy answer to that, but I didn't know if there was something else.
Well, people need to understand these 7:30 games.
Yep.
We don't go up there and stay in a hotel. I mean, we used to in the old days. If we more often would stay at a friend's house because there were no hotels, or they would gouge you for $350 at the Holiday Inn, which is
now it's way more, Dave. Way more,
worth about $80. And now we don't even do that. So you have to get your body clock ready or I have to get my body clock ready to arrive home at like 4:30 a.m. because that's what it takes to get out of there. And we know all the back ways, and we'll go the long way around, which we're not going to tell you about. We're not going to tell you all our tricks.
Yeah. Some world-class marathoners like to carbo load before big events. You just like to sleep till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I stay up as long as possible too.
Right.
And I stayed up till 3 last night. So I'm going to try to stay up till 4 tonight.
Also, whatever you do not take the back way home because because of deer. Like the Michigan Whiteout game in 2019, I was in the car with Greg Pickle when he was still at Penn Live. We waited out traffic, got some stuff done. When you go back, I think it's 45.
Don't kill anybody.
Sorry. Anyway, we're on this road and there is fog, no lights. It's just a forest. And doesn't this, I'm slowing down because we're going down a hill. And doesn't this gigantic, I guess it was a buck, just come waltzing across the street. Never even looked at me. Just got right in front of me, walked right on by. If I would have hit that thing, I don't know. It would have been.
Well, that could happen anytime. That could happen on 322.
Way, way, way more prevalent, I think, in the hinterland. I think it is.
Buddy, we got deer all around my house. I mean, they're everywhere.
You live in the
woods. That's right. Yeah.
All right, Dave, give me some of your thoughts on Auburn. Let's kick this baby off. What's the first thing that strikes you about this matchup and what may decide it?
I am a total whore. You know that. I will. Very honestly, I don't understand. When I sell people on the Football Writers Association, of which I've been a member for 30 years, I sell our guidebook because it has cell phone numbers for every beat guy in the country, and I've gotten to know a lot of people over the years. One of my go-to guys, who I don't get to talk to as much as I like, but he's an awesome guy. He runs the rival site at Auburn. His name's Jay Tate, and I met him at the 2002 Capital One Bowl. I think I mentioned him in the last podcast, didn't I?
You did. That's correct.
Yeah. I went right to him for Auburn stuff. And I trust his, you can go watch the Alabama State tape, but what is that really going to tell you? Or Akron. They haven't played anybody. This guy knows this team, and this is what he says. This is the best defense that he has seen, and I think he's been covering them 22 years.
Okay.
At Auburn. And this guy is not a homer. I mean, he's a straight shooter. If he thinks they're going to lose, he says so. If he thinks they deserve criticism, he criticizes them. Jay is a great reporter. And I got a story about him later, about how he made Pat Forty famous, by the way.
Off the rails. We're already going off the rails. Go ahead.
Hey, we got time.
I know.
Anyway, their defense, he's isolated, especially he really likes their linebacker layer. A couple of guys, Zacoby McClain, who is like Velcro with tackling. When you hear about linebackers who tackle well, that's a really good sign. He says these guys tackle really well. Zacoby McClain is number 9. And Owen Papo, number 0, who a really hard hitter. These guys are not terribly big. They're just really active, really aggressive, and very decisive. They look like they know what they're doing out there. Again, you watch Alabama State tape.
Yeah.
You can't tell, but you can tell about whether the defenders look like they know what they're doing. Do you remember how Micah Parsons looked his freshman year? Like a lot of young players look when they first get out there. They look like they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
These guys never look like they're thinking. They know by rote what's going on. They read the offense and then they make moves. So they look really good. Jade really doesn't think they have a weakness on defense. He likes their back four a lot. He thinks most people. Here's a great name for you: Smoke Monday.
Number 9. Yeah, I was going.
No, he's 20. I think he's 21. Right?
Oh, is he? Oh, I thought he was. Okay.
Yeah.
I do remember the name.
Smoke Monday. He's the free safety.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets a lot of pub because of his name, and he's good. But Jay believes Roger McCreary, number 23, is their best cover man. He's a corner, and really, as he called him, the bell cow. He's the bell cow of that defense. When's the last time you heard that?
Probably, yeah.
Probably
when I was at an SEC.
Yeah, it's probably Frank Broyles along with Keith. Keith, he's the bell cow. I think Hayden Fry used to say that. And they have a really a guy who's come on. He was supposedly a high-rated recruit, an edge rusher, and they call this guy the Edge. It's kind of like U2, who's a stand-up edge rusher named T.D. Moultrie. Apparently, this kid had been a highly rated recruit, had not panned out, had kind of hung out for a couple of years, and now he's gotten his life together, and he looks terrific. He's number 99, and he can come from any direction. He's an edge rusher, but he's then they've also got a 3-technique kid named Marcus Harris, who will be down in front, who was a portal pickup from Kansas, but he's a local kid from Montgomery that they got back. Moultrie, Bama wanted him, and Malzahn got him instead of Bama. So he must be a good player.
Yeah, I think all of that certainly makes sense. You look at their stats against 2 teams they won easily against. It's really hard to, but it seems like they're very aggressive. They're very athletic. Like they typically are. They might be a little bit better coached with Derek Mason and Brian Harsin in charge. My counterpoint, Dave, is will that defense offset Bo Nixon on the road in a big game?
You nailed it, because Bo Nix has laid eggs. Bo Nix has laid eggs on the road, and that's an issue. People believe he's less panicky now than he was, and they think since he's a junior that this is.
Did he look good against Akron, Dave?
Yeah, he's 20-22 against Akron. You can go 20-22 against Akron.
Matt Kisner would have went 22 for 22, Dave.
I'm going to digress again, Bob. We got 30 minutes, okay? I'm just going to do this. There was a Penn State went 13-0 at the beginning of the 95-96 basketball season. They ended up finishing second in the Big Ten that year. And they had a big game. Their 14th game was at Michigan on TV. I believe it was on CBS.
Love it.
And one of the Michigan players was asked about their 13-0 record, and he goes, I look at the schedule, all they'd be playing is Huckabuck State. You can go 13-0 against Huckabuck State.
I take it that Michigan might have beat Penn State.
Only by 1.
All right.
It was a very close game at the end. Penn State began 19-2 that year and ended up number 9 in the country in late February, but then they folded. They folded down the stretch, lost to Arkansas in the first round. But yes, they've been Auburn's been playing Huckabuck State so far, so we can't really tell.
Yeah, Bo Nix, man, I just it doesn't look good.
Your thoughts on Bo Nix? I want to hear now.
Well, what I'm more curious about though is I think playing in a Gus Malzahn offense compared to playing in this offense. Is it Mike Bobo, the former Georgia quarterback?
Yes.
the OC. Brian Harsin, I mean, he seems like he knows how to coach. I don't know. I know he can coach him up at Boise State. We'll see. But I just don't know. Maybe you give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but he wasn't great in 2020. I don't think he played a lot in 2019. So,
he played. Yeah.
But what is Penn State going to have to prepare for, and what tape of Bo Nix are they going to watch, I guess is the question, because you don't know, because Gus Malzahn's offense probably is not going to look anything, or Bobo's offense isn't going to look anything like Gus Malzahn.
Well, more to your point, I think you hit it before. People are worried that he's going to frazzle a little bit in a big, nasty, loud road venue. He did it at Florida a couple of years ago when they were heavy favorites. They were favorites on the road and lost 24-13. And then last year, against a bad team, South Carolina, at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, he got picked off 3 times by J.C. Horn, all of them, I think. And, it was a bad loss. He tends to have gotten a little rattled in places where it gets loud on the road. And that wasn't even loud because it was, I think the stadium was half full. Even in the SEC, they only allowed that. So it's not going to be anything like he's seen before on Saturday night.
Right. We're about halfway through this Blue White Breakdown podcast. Excuse me. Dave Jones and Bob Flounders talking about the Auburn Penn State game, 7:30 Saturday night, Whiteout, ABC, Herbie, all the bells and whistles, game day. They're all going to be there. Fowler's going to be there. Dave, if we can just transition to Penn State, I have a big picture question for you. I'm not necessarily talking about Penn State, but is there a chance that the majority of the Big Ten stinks this year?
I don't think they have a lot of great quarterbacks again.
Right.
We had a stage there for a while where you were getting, Brian Griese and Tom Brady and Drew Brees 20 years ago. You had some great quarterbacks going through the league, and even guys who didn't end up much in the NFL. Drew Henson, also at Michigan.
Yeah.
Jim Miller at Michigan State. These were good, solid quarterbacks. There were a lot of Michigan State quarterbacks who you thought, well, they could play in the NFL, and they did. A lot of those guys played.
Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer, is he still in the league? God, he must be.
He's a backup at New England. Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, well,
Bobby Boying. No, he was Ohio State.
No, I won't go that far. But we seem to have hit a dead area where the quarterbacks, what are we talking about? We're talking about Talia Tagovailoa. We're talking about who has possibilities.
Sure.
A dynamic quarterback.
Yeah.
We have Michael Penix, who really has been erratic and has gotten injured a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Stroud at Ohio State, who's just a kid, C.J. Stroud, who looks really good. But
Ohio State's got other problems, though.
Pardon me?
Ohio State's got other problems, Dave.
Yeah, well, we're talking about quarterbacks. So
no, my question was the Big Ten? Does the Big Ten stink?
Well, that's why I think it's kind of a substandard league. Is the most important position by far right now in football, in college football, is the quarterback. And you see a lot of Spencer Petruses out there. You see a lot of guys who on really good teams. You're going, if they had the quarterback, and then Iowa's a perfect example. Wisconsin's another one. We saw that. I mean, if they have just a functional quarterback in that game, they win by double digits, don't they?
I think they definitely win. I do believe that. I think the Badgers got murked in week 1.
Yeah, you go through the league, Adrian Martinez, and Michigan State's got a guy that's just a guy, and I don't know. There are not a lot of dynamic playmaking quarterbacks in this league, either as dual threats or as guys with big arms who can sit back in the pocket and pick you apart. That's the problem with the league as I see it.
Which brings us to Sean Clifford, I said take Penn State out of the equation. One of the reasons I said that is they are 2-0. He has not turned the ball over. I know, the Ball State defense wasn't exactly super tenacious, but he protected the ball against Wisconsin. I think if he had turned the ball over one or two times, it's also probably a loss for Penn State. He had a nice run against Ball State. He was able to get some chunk plays against Wisconsin in the second half after they made some adjustments. Where are you on Sean Clifford after 2 games? Do you think that because it's only 2 games, Dave, is that enough of a sample size for you to say, hey, look, maybe Mike Yurcich has been able to do some good things with him?
No, I need to see what he does in this game and at Iowa.
Okay.
I need to see what he does when things don't work. And the default setting for him when things don't work out as planned is to hold the ball too long and then get into trouble. Too often he does that. He cannot do that in this game. And we talked about it yesterday. He's got to get rid of the ball. He's got to throw it away. Sorry.
All right. It's quite all right. It's probably Sean Clifford. It's probably Sean Clifford calling.
No. Yeah. It was Sean Clifford. He said, "What are you talking about?"
Hey, my man.
It was Bo Pelini. Hey,
yeah.
What are you looking at? He called to say, "What are you looking at? You looking at my woman?"
Inside jokes. We got them. We got a ton of them here on this podcast. Inside jokes.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be decisive and prudent would be the word. Is that a good word for you? He has to live to fight another down in situations where he doesn't try to do too much.
Yeah.
Against these linebackers and this defense, he cannot make mistakes. Because I think Penn State's defense can win the day in this matchup in a whiteout, much as they did in a lot of different whiteouts where they did it against Ohio State in 2016. They did it against Ohio State in 2005. I don't want to go back that far, but I mean, I think you can do it in this game where you haven't been able to do that in college football too much lately. There's so much scoring in college football. You don't anticipate that sort of game. I think this could be a low-scoring game. In fact, what's the over-under? I don't even know. What is it? Let me guess.
It hasn't moved. It's 53.
See, I'd go under, wouldn't you?
Well, we're going to make our picks, David, in a little while. See what I did there?
I forgot to
make a pick.
I forgot to call up pregame. I gotta because you have to make all sorts of picks. Okay. I got it up.
All right. So one of the things you're talking about, Sean, when we talked about the Wisconsin game, I had a feeling that because Wisconsin was going to play very aggressive against Penn State, that there would be chances if they could block the rush wherever it was coming from, they were going to go after Wisconsin secondary. I'm not sure, and I see this time and time again, Dave. I'm not sure even good defenses realize just how good Jahan Dotson is. And I know you can say, well, how can you say that he led the Big Ten in receiving yards last year?
No,
Dave,
I can see
Ohio State took him for granted last year. Iowa took him for granted last year. Wisconsin took him for granted in the opener. If you're Derek Mason and you're the Auburn defensive coordinator, aren't you, even more so than anyone on the field, aren't you worried about Jahan Dotson, and aren't you going to devise a scheme that does not let him get deep?
Does he get bracketed as much as he should, in your opinion?
It's been a lot of different. He gets open a lot of different ways because he's so talented. He doesn't drop passes. He runs great routes. You saw Yurcich schemed him up on a slip screen for a touchdown because he's so good after the catch. They were playing too deep. But if you're gonna blitz Penn State and your safeties aren't very perfect in their coverage, he's just going to split him and run right by him. So I just wonder how Auburn's going to approach this game.
I think it would be. I'm curious to see if Yurcich just lets the dogs out, as the kids say, and starts throwing on first down all over the lot. Because I think that's the way to keep this defense out of your face. Put them back on their heels. I think they have the goods to do that, and it keeps Clifford from. You don't want him in second and third and long against this defense. I would be really super aggressive. Go, go, go. Keep throwing the ball all over the lot. Throw it deep on first down. See, that's how you can get deep on first down. I would throw a lot and start with the throw and then work toward the run.
Yeah. You remember when they got Dotson free on the long touchdown early in the second half? Penn State started their possession with 3 quick throws outside. You know, it was quick to Parker Washington and somebody else. And after 3 or 4 of those, he took a shot deep. So I think formations and scheming and what he's going to try and do, because you're right, as athletic as Auburn's defense is, if you can confuse them or give them pause for a half a second, you know, there's going to be some windows there. So I think I'm very interested to see how diverse Penn State's offense is going to be. And Dave, one more thing, we're getting a little bit late in the podcast. When you talk about Penn State's defense through the first 2 games, I think you also have to talk about Jordan Stout, because he's almost like a defensive player, an extra defender, because of what he's been able to do, punting the football and just pinning teams deep in their own end. You know, he kicks it high. They have a great coverage gunner in AJ Lighton. I think there's been 3 punt returns against Penn State in 2 games for 8 total yards. There's been no kick returns against Penn State this year. I just think Jordan Stout is going to be yet again a major influence in this game. And I just think that, you know, when you talk about Penn State's defense, you almost need to talk about him.
Yeah, I want the pressure to be on Bo Nix to have to score.
Sure.
And in order to do that, you've got to get an early lead. I don't think you can depend on this offensive line and this running game against this defense to ball control them. I would be super aggressive, get a lead, and then put the pressure on Bo Nix and some receivers that, frankly, have been erratic.
Right.
They've got one weapon, and that's the big back, Tank Bigsby. And he's a freshman, you know. He's
second year.
He's technically a freshman, so I want to put pressure on that offense in that environment right away, as soon as possible. That's why I'd be aggressive. And also, I don't want to put Clifford through 2nd and 3rd and long against this defense. Another reason to be aggressive on first down. And I'm not just talking about hitch passes and turnouts. I'm talking about getting the ball down the field on first down, because that's the one time you can do it. I really think they need to put this defense on its heels to prevent them running. They're scary in aggressive situations on throwing downs. You don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to talk to you about as far as
on Stout, kudos actually to the Big Ten, whoever votes on that thing, for making him Special Teams Player of the Week. Was that 2 weeks ago? Last week. Just because he missed a field goal and an extra point really has so little bearing on that game compared to his punting.
The touchbacks. One last thing I wanted to talk to you before we get to the picks, Dave, and I think it's gonna rear its ugly head in this game. When you have 2 defenses who can run and are aggressive like this, turnovers in this game. Penn State, no turnovers to date. Auburn only has 1. I have a feeling you will see some short fields created by defenses forcing offenses into turnovers with either its pressure or just their quickness or interceptions, where, you know, Sean Clifford might think he has a window against Auburn's secondary or linebackers, and it closes. Same for Bo Nix, you know, with Jaquan Brisker back there and Penn State's corners. I just think this will be a game where you see some turnovers that create some short fields. And that's why when everyone says, hey, it could be really low scoring, it certainly could be. But if they're going to get a lot of short fields, you could see some more points than people expect. Yeah,
I could see a game like the Ohio State game in 2016, where there were bursts of activity. And you remember that game? There were crazy bursts of things that happened. The block punt for a safety that could have been a touchdown. That was a great play by Penn State to keep it. The blocked field goal. Then there were long passes that McSorley hit after long stretches of nothing going on.
Curtis Samuel had like a 75-yard touchdown run.
I could see something like that, because there's too many athletes on the field for that not to happen.
Right.
But I could also see long stretches of not a lot of scoring. Yeah.
All right. Let's go, big guy. Who do you got?
All right. Let's see what you got. Friday night. We got a Friday night game. And this is an interesting game.
We pick the Penn State game first. Let's pick the Penn State game first.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought we were going to do that last.
No. Let's pick it first. So if people want to just shut us off.
No, you never do it that way.
All right. Go ahead. I see what you're doing.
Yeah. God, come on. You know better than that.
I didn't make my pick. Go ahead.
All right. We got Maryland -7.5 now at Illinois. What do you do with that game? That's going to be a fun game.
Oh, what do I do? 34-13 Maryland.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Illinois not looking good in that Virginia game. Yeah, you don't think they can handle it.
34-13.
I'm supposed to make you guess the spread. Okay. Michigan State. Now we're on Saturday. Michigan State at Miami of Florida. Have you seen these numbers?
I have not.
All right. Michigan State at Miami, Florida.
I would take a stab. They're still gonna probably go with the Canes because they're not sure about MSU. They're gonna say Miami -3.5.
-7.
Woo!
You have to take Sparty there, don't you? The way they've been playing.
I think you do. Did they set a record for most transfers in one season acquired? Is that?
Well, I think
like
they're
over 30.
I think they're kind of changing the culture too. If you watch them, they're much better than I anticipated. And shout out to Matt McGloin. He told me before the season he thought they were going to be better, much better than anyone thought, and he was right. They are flying around at the ball on defense in a way I did not expect. They're a pretty good-looking defensive team. So
I'll take Sparty and the points. I don't know if they win the game, but I'll take the points.
Yeah, I think Mel Tucker's got something going on there where he's going to be a problem. I don't see a 8-4 team, but maybe a 6-6 team that gives a lot of teams problems. Maybe like that 6-6 team that beat Ohio State in 1998. You remember that?
Yeah, sure.
Nick Saban, yeah, huge. Ohio State was headed for the BCS championship game, got derailed. This is horrible, but I have to ask. Northern Illinois at Michigan. What's that spread?
Michigan's going to be an inflated favorite. I'll say 16.
27.5. You haven't been watching your MAC. Northern Illinois is not good. I'm still taking. Eric Epler would have gotten that game.
I'm taking Northern Illinois.
I got to give you
that's all you need to know.
And did you see the email I sent you with the throwback to 1971? We have to mention the 71 Nebraska-Oklahoma game.
I didn't get a chance to read it yet. I've watched it numerous times.
It's terrific. It's great. 50 years ago this year. One of the
greatest. Was at the game.
Nebraska-Oklahoma was 50 years ago this November. Yeah. And it was the game of the century that actually lived up to the hype. Would you agree?
Absolutely. 35-31. And it was the momentum twist in that game. There were about 15 of them.
Incredible. Yeah.
Jack Mildred. Tearaway jerseys.
Mildred.
Jeff Kinney. Tearaway jerseys.
Was Greg Pruitt in that game, right?
Yes, he was. He was a young player, but he was in the wishbone shirt.
Man, I loved Greg Pruitt. Yeah. So anyway, not quite the same game. Nebraska at Oklahoma. Make that line.
I'll make that line. It's gotta be. I'm gonna say it's gotta be 20.
You're good. 22. Now, what do you do?
I almost said 26.
Well, then you like land the point.
It feels to me like a 45-17 game to me.
Yeah. So you're going to lay the points there. Okay.
I am.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of interesting games this week. Cincinnati at Indiana. What do you do with that?
Well, I just don't know where Michael Penix is at. I mean, that Iowa game was really I just didn't think – I know there were two defensive scores, but I just think Indiana's got some talent on that team, and the game is at Indiana.
Yeah, they got to show up this week. All
right, Cincinnati's probably a 4-point favorite.
That's correct, 4.5. Very good.
I got a sneaking suspicion that Indiana's going to cover.
People still hanging with Indiana. I'm not sure.
What do you say?
I'll lay the points with UC. They don't even have to go far. It's a next door game. You can drive that right up 74. It's not like they don't know that place. I think they're going to go in there and own it. And Fickle probably
we got to move this along. We're at the 30-minute mark. The window's going to close soon.
All right, Minnesota at Colorado. What do you think of that?
I want the over. I don't even care. Colorado's probably favored by 6 odds.
2.5. It's a historic alliance game.
High scoring game. High scoring game.
Huh?
High scoring game.
No, man. The number's 48.5, so you're going over.
You heard me. I said high scoring game. Let's go.
All right. I should trust you with dogs and big women. I should.
Let's go.
Purdue at Notre Dame.
Purdue lost their starting tailback. I saw that. I mean, I'm going to say Notre Dame's probably favored by 17.
7.5.
Woo! I'm going to lay them, and feels like 31-13.
Well, Jack Plummer's playing really well. I should have mentioned him. And tailback doesn't matter at that school. They don't run the ball anyway.
All right, what's left?
Northwestern at Duke. Just get through it.
Duke -4.
Northwestern -3. Duke is horrible. They're as bad. That's the worst Power 5 game you might be able to construct.
All right, got it.
And finally, Auburn against your Penn State.
Oh, is Rutgers on the bye?
Pardon me?
Rutgers on a bye?
They might be. Yeah, I didn't see him on here, so they might be. Yeah, it usually goes.
I didn't hear you fawning over Greg Schiano. That's how I noticed.
Would you stop with that?
Is it fawning or swooning? I think it's swooning.
Oh, they got Delaware. That's why they didn't show up. It's not even worth. It's not even worth talking about. To me, I think this game will be in the 20s. I don't think it'll be that low scoring. I just think the crowd, Jordan Stout, Mike Yursich with kind of scheming up Auburn a little bit, and the fact that Bo Nix is on the road. I think Penn State's going to win the game. The line's 6. I picked it 23-20 Lions. I'm picking it 26-14 Lions.
All right.
I like the fact that James Franklin's been with his program going on 8 years now, and this is a very different situation with a transplanted from 2,000 miles away coach from Idaho in his first big game on the road with this team. Doesn't that have to be worth something?
Sure.
I think it does.
I think that's Brian Harsin on the line behind you. He would like a word with you.
Pardon me?
I thought I heard your phone ringing in the background. Brian Harsin would like a word with you, sir.
Well, considering his speaking cadence, I wouldn't be able to tell him from the dial tone. So,
closing shot, like it.
I've heard table fans with more charisma than that guy. Anyway, he knows how to coach.
I know,
but I think he's going to run into something that they haven't run into at Boise State in this game.
In that blue field.
And I'm going to pick Penn State to cover also. What's the line? You know that line, right?
Line is 6. You're picking them to cover. I'm actually picking Penn State to win, but Auburn to cover. 23-20 Penn State.
Yeah, I'm picking Penn State and the under. The number's 52.5. You agree with that?
Well, I have it at 43. It seems a little high. I'm a little worried about. I just think short fields and like you said, big plays. There's 5 possessions where no one does anything, and then they score back-to-back touchdowns.
Yeah, I know, and a lot of athletes running around. So yeah, okay.
All right, guys, that's it for us. It's the Blue White Breakdown Podcast. That's Dave Jones. You're listening to Dave Jones and Bob Flounders. I'm Bob. He's Dave. Dave, go walk your dog. Tell him I said hello, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See you.
Welcome to Curaleaf, a medical marijuana dispensary. Whether you're a longtime patient or you're just getting acquainted with this incredible plant, Curaleaf of Pennsylvania is honored to guide you along your medical marijuana journey. Have questions? Visit us at curaleaf.com or stop in to see us at any of our 12 locations. Let's talk medical marijuana and let our confidence become yours.